Nothing move but the money, yeah. I do what I want to, act how I want to, say what I want to, act who I want to. When it come to cars, do it big. When it come to money, do it big. When it come to making moves, do it big. Whenever I do something, yeah, I do it big. Being as good.
Yo guys, what's up? It's Adam here. I can't see the guy. Introduce yourself, Darnell.
Hey, this is the Myersfan25. How's it going, guys?
Not so bad. This is the Anticenaguy show, and on episode 3, I believe, talking about the Leprechaun franchise.
I love those movies. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, dude. No problem. I can't think of a better fanatic than to talk about Leprechaun with, because Leprechaun's one of those franchises where you either hate them or you love them. You know.
Oh my goodness, I love those movies. I would have to say that the original is a bit slow at the start, but it does get better. You know, like when they first get to the house, you know, it takes a minute. You know, when Tori is that her name? Tori? Did I get that right? I think it's Tori.
Yeah, Tori starring in Jennifer Aniston in a
Right.
movie role in the first movie debut, actually.
Mm-hmm. When she gets there to the house, it is a bit slow, but it does pick up. And when it picks up, let me tell you, it's on fire. I love this movie. I love the way he tortures them when he says, "Where you going, me friends?" I love that, bro. I love Warwick Davis, man. I do.
Well, this is just a message to everyone who's watching this right now. We're talking about the Leprechaun franchise, and like I say, I'm a big fan of this franchise, and so is Darnell. Warwick Davis plays the Leprechaun. He's a British actor, a short actor, and he's made this horror comedy franchise known as the Leprechaun, where some people, like I say, either love it or hate it. But even Warwick Davis has admitted in interviews that he thinks these movies are not very good. You know, and I have to disagree. Me and Darnell like these movies, but I think Warwick Davis likes other projects that he's done, like starring in Willow and you know, the Star Wars and the Harry Potter films.
I don't know. Like you just said, bro, I have to disagree with him. I really do. I think these movies are fucking awesome. His performance is great, outstanding, especially in Leprechaun 3.
Yeah, I've got the Leprechaun franchise right here on Blu-ray, look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it contains Leprechaun 1, 2, 3, 4 in space, 5 in the hood, Back to the Hood, and of course the film that we're not going to be talking about, Origins. And we won't be talking about Leprechaun Returns either, because those films do not star Warwick Davis. We're only talking about the ones that he starred in, 1 to 6.
Exactly. This man, he needs to win some kind of award for these movies. I love him, man. I know you said you either love him or you hate him, and I agree with that. I love him. 5 and 6 were a little bit on the weaker side. 6 was better than 5, because you need the female protagonist, which 5 did not have. So that's the only thing. That's the only issue I would bring up. Okay, is that they didn't have that.
Well, let's start with Leprechaun 1 and work our way up slowly. So the first Leprechaun movie, like I say, stars Jennifer Aniston in a movie debut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she gets a lot of questions about debut in this movie. She said it was really embarrassing. You know, I don't think Jennifer Aniston was a fan of this movie either. But I, for one, thought she did a fine job, and so did the rest of the cast. And I like the location in the countryside as well.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have to say, I thought it was great. I thought she did a great job.
Me too. I mean, she wasn't overbearing. She wasn't annoying.
Yeah, I mean, her character was
pretty as well. I might add, pretty.
Right, her character was a little mean. But whatever. She's from LA. Okay, I get that. They were doing the whole LA thing. I liked it. Like you said, I love the location because it's out of the way. And that's what makes it scary, because when nobody can help you, wouldn't you be more afraid? She's out of the way. She's on a farm. I think it was a farm in North Dakota, or however they had it set up. And nobody could help them because they were all by themselves. It was a small town. I think you have to excuse me. It's been a while since I saw the movie. I think it's been about a year. Um, I think they did have a police department, but again, it just seemed like a small town. Did I get that correct? Because I know you're a super fan. Um,
Well, yeah, I remember how the movie starts off. It started off with this old guy stealing the leprechaun's gold, and he
mhm,
brings it to the country home, and then the leprechaun follows him back to the country home to get his gold back. I think the guy ends up having a heart. No, it's not the guy. I think someone ends up having a heart attack, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong by that, but all I know is he gets locked in a crate, and he puts
yeah,
a four-leaf clover on top of the crate to stop the leprechaun from breaking out.
yeah.
You
It
know,
was.
but
It was. I think. Wait a minute. Let me get it correctly. I think he had the heart attack. Dan O'Grady, and the wife was killed by Lubden, aka Basil, or the Leprechaun. I think that's the way it went.
that's right. It's coming back to me now because he ended up in the asylum, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, the nursing home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The nursing home, and then years later, Tori and her father move into the country to start a new life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they introduced them to other guys, the painters, to paint the country home.
Yeah.
And it causes havoc from there because the large guy, what was his name?
Ozzy.
Ozzy, that's right. He goes into the basement. The four-leaf clover gets knocked off the crate. The leprechaun breaks free. And that's when all the havoc starts with the gold
Mm-hmm.
situation, you know. But
Yeah.
it goes into like a little bit of a silly fairy tale about the gold appearing at the end of the rainbow and all that shit.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the isolation since you mentioned that earlier, that they are isolated from everyone else, you know?
Good. It's a good location. I haven't got a problem with the location. I mean, you know, like in the countryside and all that kind of thing. I mean, there are some different settings. I mean, there was a scene in the woods, wasn't there, where the leprechaun chased the copper through the woods and he pulls out his eye.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Warwick Davis says that was a whole new added scene into the film because originally it wasn't meant to be a horror movie. It was meant to be like some sort of like kids comedy, but that was a whole new added scene according to Warwick Davis.
Well, I met the gentleman who created the franchise, as you know, and he said that yeah, what you're saying is true. It was meant to be for children, but they wanted a horror film, so he said they had to ramp it up. They had to ramp up the violence. Um, yeah, man, I just love the original. I love it how they're isolated out there by themselves, bro. They're completely by themselves. Do they even have any neighbors? I don't remember seeing any other houses there.
Well, there was
Next,
houses, but they didn't introduce any new characters as neighbours, did they?
and that's what's so great about. They were like all alone with this leprechaun, and he was just having fun with them. And I love the chase scene. I'm sorry that I keep bringing that up, but I love the chase scene. That's my
Oh,
favorite scene, bro. I love it where he says, "Where you going, me friends?" You know, I just love. How can you hate that movie? I don't
the, sim-
understand.
the
Like,
simple cheesy one-liners, the cheesy one-liners, yeah.
yeah, man. Now you met Warwick Davis, right?
I've met Warwick Davis. I've met Warwick Davis twice, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I've asked him loads of questions about this movie. I mean, he kept on laughing every time I was asking him all these questions about Leprechaun because he knows how crazy the Leprechaun fans are, and he said that me and my friend were probably deranged because we were so into the franchise and was asking him all these Leprechaun questions.
Oh my goodness, bro. I love the franchise so much. It was such a pleasure meeting Mark Jones. Mark is a really cool dude. If I can ever get back in touch with him, bro, you should really bring him on. I mean, I hope you would at least consider it cuz he was really cool about the whole leprechaun thing. Um I think Mark Jones, I think he hit gold. He struck gold, no pun intended. Um,
Yeah,
I think he really did, bro. I don't know why it's such a low amount of appreciation for these films. I love them so much. The acting is good, especially on Warwick's part. I
oh
would have,
yeah, his accent and all that. Yeah, I think you got it spot on. Yeah.
yeah. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give Warwick Davis a 9.5. Man, the guy is great. He's great. I
Yeah,
love Warwick Davis.
I've asked other people online just for their opinion as to why they don't like the Leprechaun films, and they just keep on saying that the Leprechaun character is like a failed character who is like annoying. You know what I mean?
How is he How is he annoying?
I don't know the voice, the way he's portrayed, but I
But
happen to disagree.
I mean, have you ever met any Irish people? Like,
I have, yeah, I have.
and I mean, the accent sort of it does sound on point to me. I've met a few, and it sounds on point. I like it. Um, I don't know. It's just my opinion. I think they did a good job with Warwick Davis. I think the whole thing looks great. Look, I do have one complaint though, and it's very small. I don't like the hat. You
Oh,
know,
right, the hat.
I like I think the hat could have been done a lot better. And I have to say, I know it's gonna sound weird, but the hat just pisses me off because I wanted it to be more authentic.
Yeah,
Um and the buckle just looks so fake. Like that's the only problem I have with it. Other than that, I love the movie. I thought they all did great.
yeah,
Jennifer was outstanding.
yeah,
Warwick, great. They all did great. The kid was a little bit annoying, disrespectful, the character and all, but I liked it. I thought it was a good film.
yeah.
Leprechaun 2 is my favorite because Morty was the best. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, just to end the first little review of the first Leprechaun movie, we've got no problems with it. We like the characters, we like the locations,
I loved it. Yes.
love the little gore scenes, love the one-liners, and like you say, you
Yes.
like the chase scene and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So I've got no problem with the first movie. So I'm giving that one like I say, about a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Same here.
Okay. But now we're moving on to Leprechaun 2, the sequel.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of disappointed at the fact that it has no relation to the first movie.
No.
Because the leprechaun was supposed to have died by falling in the well and the well exploded, but in number two, he just simply comes back. And
Yes.
the whole thing about him in this movie is that he's now turned how many years old on St. Patrick's Day?
Wait a minute. Let me get it right now. Wait a minute. I think it's 1,000.
Yeah, a millennium. Yeah, that's right. And now
Mhm.
he can claim his bride. So Leprechaun is now on one big mission now to find his bride, basically.
Yes. Yes.
And this movie's taking place in Los Angeles, I believe,
Yes.
in the city. So it's a different location to the countryside than in the first movie. And
Mhm.
everyone who's watching this right now, Leprechaun 2 is my favourite one in the franchise.
Yeah, it's very good. I would like to add, if you don't mind, that somebody tried to one of the fans, the horror fans, tried to basically um, they basically tried to contradict what I was saying and say, well, it's not the same guy. And I would just say quickly, they're wrong. It is the same leprechaun, and I've done a video proving that it's the same leprechaun because I'll just say it very quickly for your viewers. In part 6, he says, they tell you the leprechauns were taken back into the earth except for the one. They kept saying the one who stayed in this world and became twisted and evil. So it is the same leprechaun. And if you notice that he says in part 6, he says, and I quote, you're a leprechaun fan, so you should know this. He says, you mortals are all the same. So by saying you mortals are all the same, then that means that he would have had to have dealt with this kind of situation before, because he says that human beings are greedy.
Yeah.
So that literally proves that it's the same leprechaun. Um,
Okay.
now, now, why they did not address the continuity errors that you pointed out, I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know why they did it that way, but back to the review. Yes, you're right. It does take place in Los Angeles, and you have a young protagonist by the name of Cody.
That's
and
right.
I believe he's played by Charlie Heath.
Yeah,
And you have a young protagonist by the name of Bridget, and she's Siobhan Durkin.
and hot,
Um,
by the way. I
yeah,
thought she was really hot.
yeah. Uh,
Do you think she's in the same league as Jennifer Aniston, beauty-wise?
uh, no, and I hate to say this, but acting wise, neither. No offense. Um, Jennifer Aniston was the best.
Right.
I have to say that. Um, and she was the better protagonist.
Yeah.
Uh, I have to say, sir, with all due respect, Bridget was she was a bit of an airhead.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I did not like Bridget. You know,
Well, I did. I did.
that's fine. Well, tell me what were some of the things that you liked about her?
Oh, well, who could forget that famous scene in the garage where she's topless? But
Right.
that was just a leprechaun playing games, and it ended up, just being his own vision, and it was
Yeah.
like them lawnmower blades that cut him off. We didn't see the scene where he got killed, but we
No.
saw the blood squirt on the wall after where he got chopped to fucking pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was cool, but I don't know. I just think she first of all, Cody wanted to do something with her, and then she says, "Well, no, I'm busy with this guy." And then when the guy he tries to kiss her, whatever, she says, "Well, I'm with Cody." So it's like, make up your fucking mind already. Which one are you with? You're saying you're with Cody, but then when Cody wanted to do something, you're saying, "No, I'm with this guy." So, um, I mean, it's a good movie, bro. That's all I can
I
say.
like it. The bar scene's my favourite. The bar scene's my favourite.
Yeah, yeah,
When the leprechaun gets drunk, one of us is getting drunk, and he's pissed at the bar because he's drinking with Morty. He
yeah.
can't control his powers because he's so drunk, and then he's in a fucking espresso bar next door trying to get sober again.
And here's the thing: you and I, as horror fans, we're supposed to be um, invested in the women, in the female. But as a horror fan, I have to say I like the male protagonist better than the female protagonist. I really liked Morty. Morty was my favorite. Morty, and this is the thing that gets me, and you can respond to this, but most of the time, would you agree that the protagonist is normally afraid of the villain in these movies? Like, but Morty was not. What do
No,
you think about that?
but he was an alcoholic, wasn't he?
Yeah,
He was an alcoholic. The character was an alcoholic, and but yeah, you're right. In some films, they are usually afraid of the villains, but in this case, he wasn't. The actor who played him has now passed away, by the way.
mm-hmm.
He's passed away now. The actor has, but I see what you're coming about Morley. Yeah,
Yeah, he wasn't afraid of the leprechaun, was he?
no, he wasn't. No,
That's a little different because you usually don't get that. Um, and he even basically challenged him, and he was saying, well,
is that where he said
basically,
you're all out of wishes?
yeah, and he was, he's saying to him, well, let's do a drinking game. And then the leprechaun says, well, no, I don't want to do. And he says, well, come on, what are you afraid? Like, that's what I'm paraphrasing, but he basically says, oh, come on, you're this big bad leprechaun and you can't drink with me?
I remember
Like,
the words. I remember the words. How about I get you a little green lemonade?
yeah,
Drink,
you know what I mean?
drink what you're able. If you're drinking with me, you'll be under the table.
I love that. You sound just like him. And that's the thing, bro. It's like, bro, I have to say it again. I love Morty. I do, because Morty challenged the leprechaun and say, "Oh, come on, man, you're this big badass, and you can't handle little old me." And the
Yeah,
thing is, here's the thing, Morty. This is what pissed me off about it. Morty almost had him. He
yeah,
had him, but then he
yeah,
he got killed because of what? His greed.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he literally almost had him, bro.
Yeah, he really did.
Like, can you honestly say that about any other protagonist, whether it be in Leprechaun or any other franchise? Morty almost had the guy. He could
Yeah,
have killed him.
just failed.
That's what pisses me off. It's like, bro, really? I don't even think Busta Rhymes got that close to killing Mike. Well, maybe he did because Michael was on the gurney and he could have killed him. But the point is, this is the only franchise where I can actually say the villain was almost bested, almost killed, but
Yeah,
because of his greed,
it stopped him. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I say, I agree with everything that you've said, and we've got the same opinions about Leprechaun 2. It's both of our favourites. We both love the bar scene. Although it was a bit of a shame that we never heard about Jennifer Aniston ever again. It had no connection with the first movie. I had no problem with the location this time, in Los Angeles and all that. But again, I wish it had more connection to the first movie. But to be honest, none of these movies do.
well,
But again, there's nothing wrong with it.
I will say this. I'm going to help you out a little. They do a little bit of a continuity thing here. Now, watch this. You go to Leprechaun 3, right? And
Yeah.
you have the medallion, right? Remember the medallion?
Yeah, that's when we talk about Leprechaun 3, isn't it? That's where it takes place in Las Vegas.
Right, but check this out. And then in part 5, you have the same thing. See?
Okay.
So
I'll tell you what, we might as well talk about Leprechaun 3 now that we've spoken about Leprechaun 2. So Leprechaun 2, we could both say is our favourite one, right?
yes, yes,
And I should say that 1 and 2 are the best ones in the franchise. But when we
yes.
go to Leprechaun 3, where it takes place in Las Vegas...
This is where it starts to now. I hate to interrupt, but this is where it starts to dwindle down a little bit.
It does, yeah. This is where it starts to go a bit rocky and starts to go
Yeah,
downhill,
yeah.
because I'm going to be honest, I didn't care for Leprechaun 3 at all. I've only seen
Well,
the movie like 2 or 3 times.
I'll say this: that whether you want to you can call him either name because I've spoken to Mark about this, and he said whatever name you want to call him, you can call him Lubden or you can call him Basil, whichever.
Yeah.
Mark Jones named them Basil, but they went with Lubden. But anyway, whatever one you call him, Lubden or Basil was a bit meaner in 3.
Yeah.
Because
The soaring scene, didn't we? The soaring scene where he cuts that guy in half.
yeah, oh my God, man, that was really bad.
We had that bizarre scene where that woman had big lips and
Yeah, yeah.
so this was a little bit more bizarre, this movie was. I mean, I have to admit, I like that scene where he met that Elvis Presley fan in the limousine. He started to do the dance like Elvis Presley, and he did that voice impression like that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're pretty good at that. Did you like the protagonist that we got in this one? Did you like the male and female or?
Well, not really. I thought they were pretty forgettable characters. I remember the ones in 1 and 2 fine, but
Exactly.
the characters in this seem pretty forgettable. I mean, I'm not saying that they were the worst ones in the franchise, but again, they didn't have that shine to them, did they?
Again, look, I have to go back to Leprechaun 2. Um, Bridget was a bit annoying for me, but let's go to Morty and what's the other fella's name? Cody. I like those guys because they were way more assertive. I mean, especially the guy Morty. He called the Leprechaun out and said, "Bro, you." He basically told the Leprechaun, look, you're not this badass. Because if you were, you would do this drinking game with me. And the reason I'm bringing this back up is because in 3, where was the assertiveness? Where I want you to tell me where it was. Like they just cowered in the corner and screamed like, "Oh my God, he's gonna kill me!" Like I need for my protagonist to be strong somewhat. Um, and
Yeah.
I just didn't get that with this movie.
I mean, how many times have you seen Leprechaun 3? I mean, you can't honestly say you've seen it loads of times like the other previous ones, can you?
No, I can't say that I have. I think I saw it for the first time in 2001. And I haven't seen it a lot. Here's what I will say, and this is where it becomes a problem.
Yeah,
She's pretty. I'll say that. She's pretty.
yeah.
And that's a problem. And you might say, well, why is that a problem? It's a problem because when you are simply relying on one's looks instead of storytelling and plot development, that's not saying much, is it? Because you're only there because she's pretty.
Oh,
Um,
so, I mean, it's always a bonus to have a pretty protagonist in a
yes,
film, isn't it?
it is. It is. It is. It is a bonus. That's what I love about you. You're not afraid to admit that you like pretty women. Um,
Oh
but
no, no, no. I like a pretty woman, me. So
right, but
I'm
what I'm
British after all.
that's true. And what I'm asking you, sir, is where is the development of the story, though? This is
Yeah.
what I
It's
um
not a very good story. I mean, the whole point of Leprechaun being in Las Vegas. I mean, I said this. What Mike Davis did say this at a convention. He says the Leprechaun is one of those characters that can appear anywhere. He can appear anywhere. He's one of those fantasy characters that can appear absolutely anywhere, even in the land of Oz if they wanted to. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
but Warwick Davis said that he likes Leprechaun 3. He says it was one of his favorite
Wow,
ones.
really? Really?
You didn't know that, did you?
Well, I think I heard somebody mention that.
I think he said that Leprechaun 3 was his favorite,
Wow.
come to think of it. I think it's because he said he enjoyed working with the people there.
Well, right, but again, see, now I'm gonna have to go back again. If you go back to the original Leprechaun, you go back to part one.
Yeah. I
They're
believe
out
he was like
there.
17 years of age in that film.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was only young when he did the first Leprechaun movie.
hmm So so if you go back to the original, they're out there by themselves, like I keep saying, and that was just great. Two was okay. You got you got Morty and you got Cody, but then when you get here, I just don't. I mean, so you've got two leprechauns, and okay, one's good and one's evil. All right, that's you've got the line where he says, "Cut off her nose and I'll hack off your toes." They're doing a rhyming contest. It's like I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on the good and evil leprechaun? It's just I don't
Oh,
get it.
I don't know. Mind you, I think I was wrong what I said about them. I don't think he was 17 in the first movie. I think he was 21.
Okay.
But I know he was just very young when he did the first movie. So, but in Leprechaun 3, we can both agree on that one. It's one of the poorest ones.
Yeah.
And like I say, I've got no problem with the setting in Las Vegas, but at the same time, the story just wasn't one of those intriguing ones like the previous two movies. So, like I say, I've only seen the movie a few times, but
I mean,
it was one of those forgettable entries.
again, she was pretty. I mean, if you're a horror fan, isn't that what horror fans like?
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
but like blonde women with big boobs, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so there's that. Uh, Scott, the character of Scott or whatever his name is, he was. I guess he was all right. Is he Cody? Hell no. Cody was the man. Because Cody knew what he wanted. He wanted his woman, and he was gonna go rescue her. It might sound a bit chauvinistic from today's point of view, but I liked Leprechaun 2, and 3 was okay. No, let me ask you a question.
Special at all.
Did the Leprechaun make, and I hate to ask you this, but did he make shit appear? Was that green stuff? Was that shit? It's like
I don't know, dude. I
what
don't know. I mean,
what was that?
I'd have to watch it again to find out. But all I remember, there was some fucking bizarre scenes in that movie. You
Yeah,
know,
you
some really
know,
fucking bizarre scenes, like a woman's ass getting bigger, some lips getting bigger, people exploding, and
yeah.
like you said, there was probably some scene with some shit. But I don't. I seriously can't remember. I mean, like I said, it was just one of those forgettable entries.
Yeah, and so I guess let's sum it up for the audience. Basically, what happens, guys, is you have you have a good evil, you have a good leprechaun and an evil leprechaun, and that's only because I think what happened was Lubden or Basil or whatever you want to call him, he bites Scott, and so that's how Scott turned into a leprechaun. And so Scott's a good leprechaun, and you know he gets hurt really badly, and they have to take him to the hospital, and something about the the doctor wants to steal his money or some shit, and Scott's like, he gets up off the table and says, do you take Green Cross or what? It's like, I laughed at that line.
It's like, who writes this shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a Leprechaun fan though, so
I'm a Leprechaun fan, but you can understand why Warwick Davis would say that these are really not very good movies, or maybe
no,
he's talking about the writing side of things or the humor side of things.
yeah,
But again, they're guilty pleasures for me. But like I said,
same.
Leprechaun 3 was not one of mine.
Yeah. So basically, what happens, guys, is they figure out that the only way to hurt the leprechaun in this movie, this is what pisses me off. So you have to destroy his gold, and it's like, huh? Where did that come from? So there are two ways you can hurt him. You can either hurt him with this, by destroying his gold, or you can hurt him with the medallion. Oh, and you forgot to tell him, Adam, that they get a wish. Remember?
The Leprechaun can't make wishes.
Yeah, if you get his coin, you can make a wish.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't know, but so anyway, they set the gold on fire and he burns up and they live happily ever after. And
until we get the next century, Leprechaun 4 in space.
Yeah, in space. Oh my god.
In space.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Leprechaun can appear fucking anywhere, can't he? Even in space.
Yeah, how did he get up there anyway? Do you know how he got up there?
Again, it was one of those films that I didn't watch over and over again. All I know is it was a guilty pleasure when he got to the second half of the movie.
Do you think he rode the rainbow? Like, did he use his shillelagh to get up there, or like?
I remember how he got in space. And I got to tell you, I can't believe it's one of those things that you'd remember for the rest of your life. Do you remember at the start of Leprechaun 4, those soldiers invaded his cave?
Yeah.
Because he had the princess with him at the table.
Mm.
You know. Leprechaun's head gets cut off with an illuminator from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Again, the soldier pisses on the leprechaun.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the piss touches the leprechaun's body, he travels up the piss and goes inside the guy's body.
So,
does any of this ring a bell?
Yeah, it does, but it's like it just.
And then when the soldier took his piss in the fucking spaceship, the leprechaun comes out of his dick.
Wow. Okay, so I
you remember that?
I don't know why I forgot that. What's wrong? It must be something wrong with me.
I don't know. Again, it's like it's one of those scenes that you think you'd remember for the rest of your life, wouldn't you? But,
yeah.
Or is it insane up to the point where it was forgettable? I mean, which part do you argue with?
Well, let me see. I'm trying to think of something redeeming about this. Wait a minute. So first of all, we can agree that 1 and 2 are probably the best, and then when you get to 3, it starts to dwindle down a bit there. And so now he's traveling up streams of piss.
Now he's traveling up streams of piss, and he comes out of a guy's dick when the guy takes a piss in the spaceship.
What now?
That's how he ends up in space.
Okay. Wow, this is oh man.
He just suddenly come back to me. I mean, I know that's what happens. I mean, I've only seen Leprechaun 4 about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And I know I like the second half of the movie the most, but this was just like a straight up guilty pleasure. This fourth movie. It's an insane movie.
Wait a minute. So what happened to him wanting to have a wife and have a baby? Because remember in part 2 he said he wanted not only a wife but a baby, and now he's traveling up streams of piss and coming out of people's uh well, their
Well,
penises.
you don't have to be afraid to say it. It isn't a PG show on my show. You can
Okay,
say
well,
whatever you like.
he's coming out of their penises. So I mean, so how did we go from having a baby and getting married to what's going on with this franchise, bro? You're the Leprechaun expert here. Tell me what's going on. What's going on with this?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I didn't write any of this shit. you know, I didn't write any of this shit. I'm just a Leprechaun fan like everybody else, just viewing it, and that's all I'm going to say about Leprechaun 4. It's a guilty pleasure because
Wait a
there's
minute,
so
you got to talk about the spider, the human. Remember when he turned the guy into a spider?
yeah, because the commander of the ship, who's half man, half robot, is played by what's his name now? Guy. No, what's his name now? His first name's Guy. I've met him. He says the spider makeup took 7 hours.
Mm.
He says the spider makeup took 7 hours, and he had an allergic reaction to the makeup in his back, and he had
Oh
to be hospitalized.
wow.
But he says he had a lot of fun with the movie because he made friends with Warwick Davis and he worked with a great director. But throughout this whole movie from start to finish, it's so fucking bizarre, man. I mean, what about the scene where Harold got flattened or something and his face
Yeah,
was a fucking pancake?
yeah. Um, I mean, okay, so I'll put it like this: they they basically go back to the whole bride thing that they got from part two. And I say that because he wanted, I mean, or at least he led you to believe that he wanted to marry the princess, but then we find out that he's just using her, and then we find out that she's just using him. So I don't know. And by the way, I'll ask you this before we go to part five because I know you want to hurry up and get away from part four, but why didn't he just use his powers? Like I don't know. Like
I
why?
don't know. There's so many questions that come to mind in this movie where he could have done this, he could have done that. But like I said, Leprechaun 4 in space, it's one of those guilty pleasures. I mean, for the first half, I'm not really interested, but for the second half, I will watch for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Because I have to say, there is a lot of shits and giggles scenes in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the most painful scene in this movie had to be the scene where the guy was hanging from the balcony, and the Leprechaun uses that tool to bash his knuckles to make him fall to his death.
Oh
I have to
wow.
admit,
Yeah.
that scene did stay with me because I could feel that because I work with tools for a living, so I know what it's like to be struck with tools and machinery. I
Yeah.
know what it feels like. So I felt that guy's death, But
Yeah.
the Leprechaun, look how he dies at the end of this one. I mean, he
Yeah.
grows enormous into a big giant leprechaun, and then he fucking explodes.
Didn't he give the finger or something like? Didn't he give somebody?
Yeah, and he gives a little finger just before the credits roll.
Huh. So
Yeah, and that's your movie. That's your fourth entry to Leprechaun in space.
so wait a minute. So we go from being in the casino. Now
We go
he's
from the
in.
countryside to Los Angeles to Las Vegas into space.
So okay. So now he can travel up your stream of piss and be inside of you and.
It kind of reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street, where the dog pisses on Freddy's body and Freddy gets resurrected. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of that, but this was like a parody scene of that. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It just and then so they had the soldier, the guy that was leading the troops or whatever. I liked him. The one that was he had the metal on his head or
Yeah, he had
whatever
the
it
silver
was.
plate on his skull.
Right. And he again, I thought he was gonna be the one to defeat the leprechaun, but then the leprechaun changed him somehow and
They even made a mockery out of him by making him wear a dress or something.
yeah, so I don't know, man. Because I know you want to rate these movies. Let me see. I guess we forgot to do Leprechaun 3. Um, Leprechaun 3, I would say I don't know.
I'm giving Leprechaun 3 about a 4 out of 5, 4 out of 10. You know what I mean? 4 or 5 out of 10.
We're okay. We're going 1 to 10. I would say. I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, it was nothing special, Leprechaun 3, but this Leprechaun 4, I admit it's not a good movie. It's ridiculous and bizarre at the same time, but at the same time, it was a guilty pleasure. It's one of those movies that would cheer you up if you were depressed or having a shit day,
Yeah.
and you just want something for shits and giggles to cheer you up.
Now,
So,
if we have to rate Leprechaun 4, this movie was just. I mean, like you said, you're
well, I'm going to give
having.
Leprechaun 4, I'm going to give Leprechaun 4 a 5.5
Okay.
because it does earn its points in certain categories.
Okay. Could you tell me which ones? Which ones do you think?
The guilty pleasure side of things.
Okay.
Like the guilty pleasure side of things, the humor, I suppose, the humorous was more a bit.
I did think it was funny, so I'll give you that.
Yeah, I thought the princess looked stunning in it.
Yeah,
she was stunning, and yeah, even she got topless in this movie. So I think that's another point.
Yeah, I know you and your pretty women.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, story wise, I mean, come on, bro.
I mean, no, the story wasn't good. I mean, a 5-year-old in kindergarten could have come up with a story like that.
And you know, I want to tell you, Leprechaun 5 ain't much better. I'm sorry, but come on.
Okay, we're done with Leprechaun 4 now, but now we're going to move on to the 5th movie, Leprechaun 5 in the Hood, starring Warwick Davis and Ice-T.
Oh my goodness, this is freaking insane.
Okay, you want my honest opinion? I hate this movie.
So do I.
Everything. I thought this movie was a bore fest, man. I thought it was so fucking boring. And, I got a problem with Warwick Davis because I like him, and I got a problem with Ice-T personally. But when I watched this movie, it felt old. I mean, I like my old movies, but this movie felt like it had lower budget than all the rest of the movies. It was very grainy and very dark. Like as if it had hardly any money at all to make. I mean, you could have easily made this movie with their camera quality that you'd have on your own, but
yeah.
But I thought it was a terrible story. It wasn't humorous. I felt like Warwick Davis didn't give a shit in this movie.
So you have three youths. They're young. And they aspire to be musicians.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that part.
And they basically they live in an impoverished area in California.
Yeah.
And they somehow run into this guy. I guess he's supposed to be a pimp or whatever from the 70s or whatever. And he, and his name is Mac Daddy Onassis, and which is, it's a derivative of the phrase "owned asses." It's like, what the fuck, like. And you wonder, see, here's the thing, and you wonder why I go so hard on these movies on my channel.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this, bro? Seriously.
Oh, I tell you, I mean, I turned this movie off because it was so fucking bad.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, I like me guilty pleasure movies. I like stupid humor movies, but this one was just something that I just could not get into. I mean, I would have liked to have enjoyed it for guilty pleasure reasons, like I did with number 4 and like I did with part 4. But this movie didn't seem to have that.
Okay, so look.
One good line. A friend with weed is a friend indeed.
Yeah. And so
one good line. Apart from that, nothing else.
Right. And so again, you take these 3 guys, right? Okay, I get it. And I know this is a touchy subject. You take these 3 guys. They live in an impoverished area. These 3 black guys, and what's the leader's name? Postmaster P or something like that. And he's 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 supposed to be the smartest one out of the bunch or whatever. And so you take these three guys, like I said, they aspire to be musicians and they want to go to Vegas or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'll point this out: the medallion returns in this movie.
Oh well, I didn't even know that. That's how much I know this movie. You know more about this movie than I do.
And guess what else? Guess what else returns?
Who?
Continuity wise, the wrought iron. Remember the wrought iron? How he can't have wrought iron; it hurts him. They brought that back in this movie
Oh, I never even knew that. I never
with the
even knew
safe.
that.
Yes, the safe, the wrought iron safe. So
No,
that
I never knew that at all. I mean, that's how far behind I am with Leprechaun in the Hood. I mean, that's how very far behind I am.
and so some fans were offended by this one, by the way. And like I said, this is a very controversial subject because it deals with race. And so some fans were offended, and I can understand why they would be. But my only thing with this, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but we get to the end of the movie, and I know I'm moving a little quickly, but we get to the end of the movie, and so your hero is not your hero anymore. And not only that, they dress up, they're cross dressers. It's like, well, what the I, I don't I don't understand what, like, what's the meaning of the whole thing, because they
He's happy
have
at the end as well, isn't he?
right, and it's like, what the fuck are you?
Believe it or not, is this the first entry in the film where he didn't die?
Yeah. So I mean, I know you can't answer that because it's not your usual demographic, but I have to ask anyway. Do you think maybe they were trying to appeal to young African Americans, or I mean,
It's no good asking me about this one. I honestly couldn't tell you about this movie. I mean,
I'm literally at look. I don't know. I'm, you know what I mean? And I'm a person of color, and I don't know what they were like. I don't know what they were trying to do.
I don't know if they was trying to make things take it seriously. I mean, it's a film, you know what I mean. But
Well,
I know
yeah,
that I know one thing though. When you talk about the whole race thing, I know the next film which we're going to be talking about, Back to the Hood,
yeah,
that one was got a lot of race complaints. It
yeah.
said on Wikipedia that if a movie should sparkle race wire, this is definitely it.
Yeah. Oh wow, I didn't see. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's that one. Do you want to move on to that one?
Well, yeah, because
If there's anything else you want to point about in the hood,
I,
I've got no more to
I,
say about it.
I mean, well, I'll say for your audience, basically what happens is, they did do a lot of callbacks from previous films. They brought back the wrought iron, from part 2 and 3. Was it? No, not 3. 2, I think it was. The
Yes,
second one, right? Okay. Okay.
yes,
Um, so they brought back the wrought iron from part 2, and they brought back the medallion from 3. So they did do that right. Um, but after that, like, I just don't know I don't understand the point of this movie. I don't.
well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm giving this shit about like a 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
1 out of 10. It's only earned 1 point because I like that simple one-liner. A friend with weed is a friend indeed. That's
Yeah.
the only thing that earned a point. Apart from that,
I'm
shit
gonna
movie.
give it. I'm gonna give it a 1.5 because I like the callbacks. I
Right,
appreciate that.
right.
Um, Again, I'm just me being a black person. I'm just trying to ask. Like, I don't even know what they were trying to do. Uh, so I look. If anybody has any insight to Leprechaun in the Hood, hey, tag me in the comments, because this is not my channel, but you can tag me or something at the Myersfan25, and let me know, because I
Yeah,
don't.
for those of you who are listening out there, this is my show, but like I say, I'm going to leave a link to Darnell's channel in the description. So if you've got anything you want to ask him or you've got any insight, about this movie or anything in general, feel free to go onto his channel and ask him on there.
Yeah, because
If not, just leaving me here.
I don't know. I don't look, man. 1.5 for me. No female protagonist, so you're already breaking the rules. And if you're going to have an all male cast or whatever, they've got to be cool. These guys weren't. Okay, that guy, what's his name, Mac Daddy, he was okay, but he was still annoying. His greed did him in, like Morty. They brought that back. Because Mac Daddy almost killed him once again, like Leprechaun 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. 1.5, let's move on. I don't know.
Okay, the final movie. After this movie, they put a hold on them. Leprechaun 6, Back to the Hood.
Now
Okay. After when I saw Leprechaun 5, I said to myself, I don't want to see any more. But then I found out that they made another one, Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
yeah,
And you
same
also
here.
one, another guilty pleasure. I thought this movie was better than the previous one. There was some scenes that,
Same here.
yeah. I mean, I remember the day I watched this. I mean, me and my buddy Matthew, we were at home, and I says, we're bored. What movies are we going to watch? And then I remember ordering Leprechaun a few days prior to that off eBay.
Okay.
And on that same day, the Leprechaun Back to the Hood DVD was delivered to my house and says, look, I found the answer to our problems. Back to the Hood's been delivered. So should we try this? But I'm saying if it's going to be anything like Leprechaun in the Hood, we're turning this shit off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we watched it and we were surprised. Again, it wasn't like an amazing movie, but I thought it was a guilty pleasure.
Well, and by the way, I didn't know about the Wikipedia. I have to go back and read that. I didn't know that I knew fans were offended about Part 5. I didn't know that they.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still there. If you scroll down at the bottom of the Wikipedia page for Leprechaun Back to the Hood, It says, if a movie could spark a race riot, this is it.
Oh, wow. That's not good. And I just want to put the disclaimer out there. I don't think I don't think it had anything to do with the star of the film. I think he's probably a cool guy. I think it was the studio. And that's my honest opinion. I think the studio did this shit, and they came up with. I think they came up with it. I think Warwick Davis was just doing what Warwick Davis was told to do.
Now, speaking about Warwick Davis's performance in this movie, I know just a little change. The character seemed a little bit more serious in this movie.
Yes.
Look how the Leprechaun was dressed in this movie. He looks like he had like the Jack the Ripper look.
Yeah.
Because he wore
the cape, hat,
right? He wore like a long cape cloak.
Yeah.
So the character had a little bit of a change, and he was more serious. Yeah, he had his one-liners and his jokes. There's even a scene in this movie where he's getting fucking high. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
High from a bong. You
know
what
I mean? Did not. I have to say this. He seemed to like the female protagonist. Did you get that? Where he seemed to almost respect her? I think he even said. I think he even said, "I like her." Because she put up a good fight. So this is the only time where he actually respected his counterpart. I thought the movie was good. I thought it was better than Part 5. I really love that whole exposition thing. What are your thoughts on that? How they did his backstory for Part 6?
Oh, yeah. How they went into more detail, more history.
Yeah. Did you like that, or did you think the movie could have done without it?
I've got no complaints. I mean, you could have got away with the movie without adding it, but it was also nice to hear it at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I suppose it's nice to learn more about the Leprechaun. If they were planning to make more movies, which they did, but not necessarily sequels after this movie, because it came to an end after this one, didn't it?
Yeah. And for your viewers, basically what happens in this one is they return to California, and they basically said that the leprechauns were whisked back into the earth, They were taken back into the earth, except for this one. This one became twisted and evil, and that's how he became who he is. He stayed in this world and he became corrupted. So I don't know. I guess it had something to do with the gold or whatever. I don't know, but um, I liked it.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
it was better than five, much better than five. I could see why people would be offended. Um, in regards to your comment about that, I can see why they would be. I did hear a fan, or at least I guess he's a fan. He did an article about it or something where it was a white fan that said that and I hate to say this because it's so controversial, but he basically said, well, the he says it's racist because black people stole the leprechaun's money, and now he's angry. Um, I mean, I I
the
guess
same.
I guess I could see how somebody would be offended by that, but then again, didn't everybody steal his money? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know what? I'm not going to get into details about all this. I don't start saying things that
yeah,
will
yeah,
cause trouble.
right,
But
and then
I think people are going overboard in different departments with this thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a movie, you know. Why is it taken so seriously? You know what I mean?
here's the thing, but here's my take on this, and you can, like I said, if you see, this is why I like recording things. Never do anything live because if it's live, you can't take it back. But this is taped first, which is good, so you can go back and edit it out. Um, this is my question to you, Adam, and you can cut this out, but my question to you would be, why do it at all? You don't even have to like. There are so many different things you could have done with five and six. You know what I mean? I was talking to this one guy a long time ago, and I said, "Well, why not put it on an island? Why
Well,
not do
actually, it's
that?"
funny that you mentioned that because I want to talk about that once we finish this little review of Leprechaun Back to the Hood. So we'll carry on talking about Back to the Hood, and then we'll get into that subject.
Okay,
Um,
sure. So
so Back
basically,
to the
go
Hood.
ahead.
Can you initially say it was like in the hood but remade again
Uh
with better humor and better gore?
I think so. I like the characters. I like how they all stuck together. The one There is one character that I didn't like, and her name was Lisa.
Right.
She annoyed me, but I like the character of Jamie. He was so cool. I like how these guys stuck together
Yeah.
against the Leprechaun. It didn't really do all that well, but it didn't do them any good to stick together. But I like how they had the guy Jamie. He wasn't too bright, where he was saying something about, oh, doesn't can't you just use garlic or something like that? He's like, no, that's a vampire. So
Uh,
I like that. And then he says, well, why can't we just wait until the sunlight comes out or something? And it's like,
well, in my terms of humour, the humour that I liked the best was the bong smoking scene.
yeah,
And I like the scene as well where the car drives off without him and he starts talking to that woman on that telephone sex line,
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
you know, and she
the
hung up on the phone when she found out how tall he was.
yeah, yeah. That was pretty
I
cool.
make up for other areas, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and so basically, what happens, guys, is that I think there are about three of them left. I think there's what's the guy's name? What
I
is it?
can't remember all of their names in this one.
But
I can't honestly say the characters were memorable in this one.
the main character, there's him, and then there's Emily, and then there's Jamie, the guy that was cracking all the jokes. So there's the three of them. They're running from the leprechaun. Whatever leprechaun tries to kill uh what's her name, Emily, but he doesn't want to kill her because he says that she's basically um a formidable opponent. He likes her, but then he says, well, you mortals are all the same. um so he does try to kill her in the end, but then she kills she well not she doesn't kill him because he's still alive at the end, but They just don't make any more sequels. She throws him in the cement.
That's right. If I remember correctly, she was shooting him with a gun which contained 4-leaf clovers.
That was her boyfriend that shot him.
Yeah, and then they grab the pot of gold, ram it into him, and he falls into the cement below, and he sinks with his gold.
Right. And now remember, like I said, he is alive because they showed him sticking his hand up through the thing.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they discontinued it. Sort of like Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah. So for the Leprechaun films we're all watching this, we've talked about Leprechaun 1 all the way to 6. We're not going to talk about Origins because that does not star Warwick Davis.
No.
And we don't want to talk about Leprechaun Returns either because that doesn't star Warwick Davis. All I'll say is Warwick Davis was meant to come back for Leprechaun Returns. However,
I think I do remember something about that. Go on, I'm sorry.
This is for the people who don't know, you know. He was meant to come back for Leprechaun Returns. However, he did state in an interview he did not want to do any horror films while his kids were growing up. And he says when his kids are grown up, he will consider doing horror again. Okay, but that was then. His kids are growing up now. So the possibility of him coming back to do more Leprechaun films or horror movies in the future is highly likely.
They want to do a Leprechaun 7. You are aware of this?
Yes, I hear that Lionsgate. I've currently pitched a script for a Leprechaun 7 to take place in the Wild West town.
Yeah, and now when I say 7, I literally mean 7. They want it to actually be connected continuity-wise. Did you know that?
Yeah.
They want it to take place after the Hood.
Yeah, and I could understand like this sort of character taking place in the Wild West town. Because think about it, in the Wild West, there's gold, isn't there? When they go on treasure hunts.
Yeah.
There's gold like in caves and mines. And the Leprechaun could be in one of them mines where he's trying to keep an eye on his gold, but there's these cowboys, sheriffs, Wild West town, hooligans who are trying to get to the gold, you know?
I would say what they're probably going to end up doing is, and what do you think about this? They're probably going to do time travel. Because that's the only way you could explain it. You know what I mean?
I suppose so. But it'd be interesting to see how the Leprechaun's dressed as well. You know, he'd probably wear a cowboy hat or something.
Now you mentioned something about an island. You said somebody said something about.
Okay, here's another idea. I mean, Warwick Davis did state in an interview, and there's also a video on YouTube about this, that he's got his own idea for a next Leprechaun movie. He's got an idea of a Leprechaun movie taking place out at sea, you know, in the Caribbean, where there's these pirates at war, these two battleships going at war, and they're going at war over some gold which they found in a cave on an island. And that cave on the island happens to be the Leprechaun's gold, and the Leprechaun's staying there. So the pirates steal the gold, they're having a war over it, and Leprechaun is joining in with all the havoc, basically.
Oh, wow. You know,
but he says he likes the idea of being involved with pirates because pirates like drinking and partying, and the Leprechaun likes to do the same thing. So seeing the Leprechaun dressed as like some sort of pirate or something would be humorous too.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of another villain, I'm not going to get too much into it, but speaking of doing different things in sequels, Andrew Divoff, who plays the Jinn in some of the Wishmaster films, he wanted to do a movie about the United, what do you call it, the United Nations or something, and he wanted to do something where somebody found the opal in a cave. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Oh, no idea about that.
Yeah, but anyway, back to Leprechaun. As far as the future goes, we forgot to rate part 6, by the way. I'll say this. I'll give it a 4.5 because it was slightly better than the 5th one.
Yeah, well, I'm giving it a little bit higher. I'm giving it like about a 5 or a 6.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Okay. So that's our rankings for the Leprechaun. Like I said, I've got the Blu-ray right here. I've already mentioned we're not going to mention Origins or Returns, and we basically talked briefly about the future as well. All we can tell you is that right now, Lionsgate do have an idea for another Leprechaun film taking place in a Wild West town, but we don't know who's going to be in it. We don't know if Warwick Davis is coming back. There's been no specific dates regarding the project.
All I can tell you is that there's a guy named Darren Bousman or Bousman, however you say it. I think he did the Saw films or whatever. He wants Warwick back. That's all I can tell your audience. He wants him back, and he wants a straight up sequel. He doesn't want to do one of these movies where the you don't really know what continuity is, what it's in, or whatever. He made it clear he wants to do a sequel. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy for that.
But like in regards to Warwick Davis, his kids are growing up now, and he has always said he'd love to make another Leprechaun movie, but I don't know if he's changed his mind by now. I don't know.
I
You
would
know,
say, if you want to sign him on to the project, and I'm not going to go any higher, even though I think he's a good actor, but I would at least say $1 million.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go any higher because, and I hate to say this, but it's a horror movie. And I don't look down on horror movies. It's just that because I'm a horror fan. But
Me too, yeah.
what I'm saying is studios are not really going to like bank a lot on horror movies, bro. Horror movies are like the junk food of the film genre. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're not really gonna bank that high on it. And look at it this way: like, who's gonna besides you, me, and then there's a guy on Instagram named Jared. I got to give a shout out to him. His name is Leppy Laddie. He's on Instagram and Twitter. So
Yeah.
shout out to him. But besides the three of us, who's gonna really give a shit? I mean, like, let's be honest. So
I
if
know.
so, I'm telling you right now, Lionsgate is not gonna. They're not gonna. They're not
There
gonna.
are some Leprechaun fans out there, but like to tell you the truth, when you look at the obvious horror icons, you've got people like Freddy, Jason,
Exactly.
Michael, and then you list Chucky, and
Yeah.
then Leprechaun comes up a little bit. But like I say, you'll get more fans of the top icons than you will on the Leprechaun level. So
Exactly, bro. And like I said, there's you, me, and then there's my friend on Instagram. Besides, that's three. Like, nobody's gonna give a shit about this. And I've talked to another friend of mine who's a huge Wishmaster fan, like I am, and I say the same thing about Wishmaster. I mean, well, who besides you and me, who would give a fuck? I mean, let's be honest.
yeah,
I mean, so man, like.
underrated in some
No,
aspects.
yeah, it is. I love the Leprechaun movies, and I'm grateful that you had me on your show. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Um,
no problem,
I,
dude. So overall, Leprechaun franchise may not be the best franchise in the world, but we
it is
enjoy it.
yeah,
We
it
enjoy
is
it.
to me. I love it. And you can cut this next thing out that I say. Would you be interested in having Mark Jones on if I can get him? Would you be
Anyone's welcome
interested?
on the show, dude. Anyone's welcome on the show. And I want to point this to anyone who's listening to this. If you've got any topics, any reviews, or anything you want to talk about on my show, just get in contact and we'll try and sort a time and date out to actually get this out there, live on YouTube. So,
I really think you should have this guy on because he created the franchise. You know what I mean?
well, send me a link to his channel. I'll subscribe to him and I'll try and get in touch. And who knows, you know what I mean? And that goes for everybody out there, if you're interested in doing an episode with me on this show. So,
Oh well, he doesn't have a channel, but Mark, he has an email. I'll send you his email, and maybe you can email him. But he was a nice guy. I love talking with him about the original Leprechaun movie, and he was barely involved in the second one. But anyway, Adam, thank you so much for having me on the
it's no
show.
problem, no problem at all. I mean, like I said, this is your second time on my show now, and it's been a privilege, mate. It's been great talking with you. Like I say, everybody, I'll leave you link to his channel in the description. Go and subscribe to him and check out his videos. So thanks for watching this, everybody.